self-starter and someone who would immerse himself in every aspect of this job. And boy, were we lucky to get Herb Hill. He's had several years of experience in academic environments in things that involve patron service, so he is at home with our students and has just brought this program to life. Herb, thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Dr. McRena, for a very generous introduction, and thanks very much to President Rao and Jeff Wing, our National Scholarship Director, for honoring our student researchers and our faculty mentors today. This is something I think we're going to see a lot more of at VCU in the future here. Celebrating what is really the basis of a great research experience is that relationship between a faculty mentor and an undergraduate researcher, both of whom are really committed, truly committed to understanding more about the world that they find themselves in. So to begin, I'm just going to be very honest. I'm going to follow Dr. McRena's lead here and be extraordinarily honest. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. I was really trying to keep this whole thing quiet, you know, and my students, I talk to them and you know, they kind of trying to keep it quiet too, but it's getting harder and harder for me to walk around acting like I'm really stressed out and extraordinarily busy because I'm having the best time doing this. Really, I cannot say enough about working with these students, the inspiration they give me to keep being busy for them and keep doing what I can do to help them, because that's really the best part about this job, and I have them to thank for it. So thank you all very much, the presenters here today and the undergraduate researchers in the audience. Thanks so much. I really had it pretty easy when I came in too. Undergraduate research was already happening here at VCU, as well as faculty mentorship. So all I really had to do was come in and meet with these people and talk to them about the work they're doing. And guess what? It's extraordinarily interesting and exciting work. So it was not difficult for me to get involved here. Everybody was very welcoming. I've got so much support in the Office of Research with Dr. Frank McRena and Dr. Ann Nichols-Caseball there. And some people really set the stage for the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program. That would be Dr. Jacqueline Smith-Mason and especially Dr. Earl Dowdy in the Department of Psychiatry, or psychology as well. So I just wanted to thank them, and do speak with these students here today, because their work will surprise you, it will inspire you, it's fun, it's exciting. But before you do, I just want to talk a little bit about our Undergraduate Research Summer Fellowship. Our 2010 Summer Fellows are actually presenting their work here today, and I'm sure they'll be happy to self-identify if you don't speak with them about the research. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce our 2011 Summer Fellows. So if you guys are out there, the students who are probably skipping class and skipping work to be here, a true dedication to their research project, please do come forward as I call your name. Mary Reck, who'll be working with Emily Hill on a research project entitled Improving the Gram Stain. Ileana Soldan, who's working with Dr. Roberto Ventura on a project entitled Historic Socialist Architecture and Modern Interpretation, Nazi Architecture in 21st Century Germany. Teresa Eileen Painter, who's working with Professor Ron Johnson. She'll be combining art and engineering to provide a means to represent sound and music in a physical artistic display. Tobias Wilbur, who's working with Jamie Mahoney and Megan D on a project entitled Mark and Pattern, a visual reference of Maori art and technique. Brendan Elliott, who's working with Professor Sarah Meacham on a project entitled British Loyalist Papers. Aruna Anbashagan, who's working with Professor Matthew Hartman on a project entitled RNA Purification for the Use of Fluorescent Affinity. Mary Gallagher, who's working with Professor Michael McBoy on a project entitled Characterization of the Human Antibody Response to Cytomegalovirus Endocytic Entry Mediators and Compartments. It's complex. Please do come forward. Jonathan Fletcher, who's working with Professor John Ryan on a project entitled "Do Tumors Activate Mast Cells?" Laura Peters, who's working with Professor Zokoto on a project entitled "Body Awareness and Emotional Facilitation, Revising the Facial Feedback Hypothesis." Tim Fiore, who's working with Professor Meredith on a project entitled "Laminar Distribution of Inputs to Rostral Posterior Periodontal Cortex of the Ferret." Jerry Boyd, who's working with Professor Lee Franco on a project entitled "Analyzing Obesity, Type 2 Diabetes, and Insulin Resistance as Factors Related to the Metabolic Syndrome." Victoria Freebar, who's working with Professor Paul on a project entitled "Visualizing Art for the Blind." Jason Phillips, who's working with Professor David Jan on a project entitled "Fractal Antenna Design." Royena Tanaz, who's working with Professor Sarah Elsey on a project entitled "Investigating the Role of RAI1 in Childhood Onset Obesity." And last but not least, Jamari Lopez, who's working with Professor Mary Sheldon on a project